Okay, so next we have up Marian Fairman and Sue Franke, or Frank, I'm sorry. Now, Sue is a data nerd, and she's worked at Progressive for 13 years in a variety of roles. And she's currently the manager of the analytics team for the internal call center. And she's actively working to teach others to tell stories with Tableau. And Marian is a data analyst who prefers to call herself an intellectual rather than a nerd. Now, OPD, how can I explain it? Well, I'm not. I'm gonna let Sue and Marian take you through it frame by frame. Now, I have to tell you, when you submitted your talk and as I was reading, I also want to like halfway sing it. So thank you for taking me back to, was that the 90s maybe? Yeah, so thank you for taking me back to the 90s for a minute. And I'm gonna just go ahead and turn it right on over to you.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning into our presentation about other people's data. So the big question we want to ask you is, are you down with OPD?
Yeah, you know me.
Before we start talking about other people's data, we should probably tell you a little bit about ourselves.
So as I mentioned, Sue Franke is a data nerd who has spent her entire career at Progressive in a variety of analytical roles. She currently manages a team of analysts to advance operational analytics to optimize and cultivate efficiency for our commercial lines internal call center. She enjoys teaching others Tableau, has a Bachelor of Business in Accounting and a Master's in Statistics, both from the University of Toledo, and she loves wine and travel.
Marian Fairman prefers to call herself an intellectual rather than a nerd. However, you check out her t-shirt, it's kind of not exactly true. She's been working in analytics for the past 12 years and is a die-hard Tableau fan for the last 7 years. 2 years ago, we were lucky enough to bring her into our Progressive Analytics family. She's got a bachelor's in English and an MBA from Case Western Reserve University. She's a lover of theater and serves on the board of Dobama Theatre in Cleveland. Now that we've introduced ourselves, we want to tell you a little bit about Progressive.
Get that. All right. So Progressive is a Fortune 200 company with forward-thinking approaches, state-of-the-art technology, and endless opportunities to risk, learn, and grow. There's a reason we've been named the best place to work. Our progressive culture, core values, and commitment to diversity and inclusion redefine everything you might think about corporate environments.
I'm a die-hard Progressive fan through and through. Anywhere I can wear jeans to work on a regular basis is a bonus to me. If you have drive, passion, creativity, and a desire to help people, Progressive could be a place where you thrive as well.
Visit our website to learn more about working at Progressive.
Search the keyword data to find data-related careers. I know my team has a few openings.
Ooh. Hey, Sue, did you ever wonder who was the better artist, Tiffany or Debbie Gibson?
Probably not, or at least not in the last 20 years.
Well, I found this great data set online, some other people's data, that shows the top 100 Billboard songs by week for the last 6 years, and I ran a comparison. You want to take a look at it?
Sure, I always love looking at a good data viz.
Let's go, bring it up. All right, here you can see that Debbie Gibson is clearly a better artist from Tiffany, things that you never knew. She had more number ones, she had more top 100 hits, but somehow Tiffany has that certain indescribable cachet.
This is actually a little bit more interesting than I thought it would be. Can you perhaps analyze someone a bit more recent?
Sure, let me move this window over here and let's go take a look at Kesha.
I'm not sure I know who Kesha is.
Oh, sure, you know that song, TikTok?
Oh, yeah, that one.
Well, why don't we look at somebody you know a little better? Why don't we look at Katy Perry and Taylor Swift? They have a beef, right?
They used to, but I believe they ended their bad blood with an olive branch. An actual olive branch that Katy sent over to Taylor.
Well,
it was awesome.
Katy may have ended the feud, but Taylor has kicked her butt with the sheer quantity of songs.
But Katy has more number one hits.
That's true. And you know, there's all these different collaborations they have. Over here on the sidebar over here, I've kind of selected my favorite artists, but they have all these different collaborations.
Oh, yeah? Is there any grouping where I can see just all the Katy Perry songs? I see all the stuff that she's grouped with. Could she just possibly have more that we're missing?
Well, we could create a group in Tableau, but it would be difficult to create one for all of the artists. And it would certainly be difficult if I wanted to add any new artists to the group, like Ariana Grande.
So how many artists are there in this data set?
9,127.
Oh, that's a lot. I have another solution. What if we bring that data into Alteryx and kind of clean it up a bit before we push it back to Tableau? Alteryx has this text to columns tool that I know can split data from one column into multiple columns based on a single character that I've used before. When I look at your sidebar, it looks like most of the collaborations are using the word featuring. I bet we could replace the word featuring with some kind of single character. A couple of the other ones, like with Beyonce, look like there's an ampersand. We might just change it all to the ampersand to kind of see how this might work. Let's flip over to Alteryx and kind of see how that is going to work for us with your OPD. So first thing I'm going to do is open up Alteryx. And then I'm going to bring your data in with the input data tool. You can find that in the in and out pane. I'm going to select our data in the configuration pane. Grab a select tool to kind of see what the names are and kind of how the types are working. Open up a formula tool to do that formula I was talking about. I'll create one called new performer, use the replace function to take that performer data. So the string I'm looking at is performer. Then my target is actually going to be the featuring comment that we see there. And I'm going to replace that featuring with an ampersand. So I noticed also in your data set, sometimes there's a space before an ampersand, sometimes there's not. So I'm going to create another field here and clean that up a bit. So I'll create that, still calling it new performer. Because Alteryx works in sequence, I can do this on that new performer field. And what I'm going to do is change that space ampersand to just an ampersand on new performer. Next thing I'm going to do is grab that text to columns tool from the parse tab, bring that over, select new performer, change my delimiter to an ampersand, reduce the number of columns to 2 because I don't really care about the second half of that data. I just want to clean up the first one. Grab the select tool just to rename a few columns and deselect some extra ones that we might not need so I can keep it nice and clean. Next, I'm going to grab an auto field tool that cleans up your data a little bit and make sure it runs nice and fast in Tableau, because one thing no one wants is a slow Tableau dashboard. I'll output this out to a CSV for you using the output tool, but we'll grab a browse tool so we can take a peek at it as soon as that runs. I'll hit the run and we'll wait a few minutes and we can check this out. So if we scroll down a bit, and maybe I'll look for 2 changes. I know that one had a few features in it. So scrolling down, we can see here that the ampersand and featuring gets cleaned up in the new performer column to just be 2 changes. Before I finish, I'm going to grab everything and throw it in a container just to keep things nice and clean in case we want to add on more things to this visualization. So let's kind of drop this over into your Tableau viz. Do you want to kind of pull that up and let's see what we're looking at?
Yeah, let's go bring that back. All right, so if I go into the viz, I got to move this toolbar around. It is always in the wrong place for me. All right, so if I go into the viz, you can clearly see that Katy Perry has 9 #1 hits now compared to Taylor Swift. But Taylor still does have more songs in the Billboard Top 100. Let me go over to the right viz. Let's see. This toolbar is killing me.
You might have to get out of the
toolbars.
toolbars.
Let's see. Let's just do it that way. All right. We're back in the viz.
Now we can see Katy Perry's 9 up top
There we go.
to Taylor Swift's 5. Taylor does still have more songs though in the Billboard Top 100.
Quantity or quality, what's the best?
It's hard to say. Let's look up somebody else. How about Lady Gaga?
Oh, sure. Let's go ahead and select her from over here. But see how cleaned up that data got? I had really messy all of these different featurings over in my first data set with the performer. But once we clean up the performer, I've got this really small list. We can add more people to it.
That's awesome.
So if we look at Lady Gaga, we are able to see that she's had this great long career. And you see her current song, Shallow?
Right, Shallow. Looks like it peaked at number 5.
I wonder, that's from the movie A Star is Born. I wonder, do the songs from movies do better or worse than in the charts?
I don't know, Marian. How do they normally do?
Well, it's not easy to look at all the data from songs and movies, but we could look at the data from the best songs and movies. You know, she just got a Golden Globe nomination, so she's a shoo-in to get an Oscar nom. How about we look at data from Academy Award nominated songs?
All right, sounds great.
All right, so I found this great data set online, some more other people's data, that lists all Academy Award nominees and winners going all the way back to 1927. I'm gonna mash that up with our other data and see what happens. So if I go back to Alteryx, I am going to just add on to this flow. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is drag over a formula button to add on to the flow. And I'm just gonna duplicate the song that I had because I'm gonna make some changes to it. So there was song in the first data set. I'm just gonna make a new song. I also know I wanna join this data based on year because you could have a remake of a song like Jessica Simpson remade that Take My Breath Away. Oh, yeah. I don't wanna join that to the movie song data. I wanna get the original movie song that happened. So we need to have a year join. Then I'm going to use the regex function, right? And I'm gonna replace all the mess that's in this song data. So I'm replacing everything that comes after a parenthesis. I've looked at my data and I know frequently it says from the movie so-and-so. I don't wanna see any of that. Then I'm gonna take this data cleansing tool and I'm gonna clean up all the tabs, all possible white space, all punctuation. I'm gonna change the case to lowercase and I'm going to, and that's gonna make sure that it's easily able to join up together without any possible mess. I'm gonna put a select tool in that just to take a look at it, see that everything looks okay, but I'm gonna change the field type of year to a double because I don't know what the award year is gonna be in my other data set. So then I'm gonna bring in that other data set, connect out to the Academy Award data. You know, once again, it's got all the data going back to 1927. So I'm gonna retype my field year to a double so it matches the other data, and I'm gonna rename it to award year. Then I'm gonna filter my data so I'm only looking at the category for best original song. I don't care about anything else. I'm just looking for the original song and that's all that needs to happen. All right, so I bring that in. I'm gonna do a formula where I am once again duplicating that song name, which once in this, here is this column name. So I'm just gonna create a new name. And then I'm going to clean up that data with that regex tool. Now, I've looked at this data too, and I know that there's things like quotation marks, and there's also a from in there. So I'm just gonna get rid of that by using the regex tool with some formulas that I may have found online.
Hey, regex and Google, they work well.
Right, and then I'm just gonna clean up the quotation marks, get rid of those.
Kind of weird that the quotation marks don't get cleaned up when you filter out for punctuation.
I know, they must not count as punctuation. Then once again, I'm gonna get rid in this field of all tabs, all white space, all punctuation. I'm gonna modify the case to lowercase, and then I'm gonna join the data together based on that new name and the new song and the year. Then I'm gonna throw some browses on the end of my data so it's easy to take a look at it.
Hey, Marian, just as a hint, next time you can click on those little things at the end just to take a look at your data too.
Oh, that's definitely useful to know. So I'm gonna run this, see what happens. All right, so I wanna look at the middle join, right, where things have actually joined together. Oh, we've done pretty well. The Accidentally in Love song came in, right? I, the Tiger Survivor. It looks like there's a lot of stuff. But if I look at the right stuff, the stuff that didn't mesh from the Academy Award songs, there's still a lot of stuff that I can clean up, you know? So I think what I'm gonna do is add some more data in. I'm gonna create another formula off of my original Billboard chart data, connect that in there, and I'm gonna do something called year -1, because the song could be in a hit, right, in the year before it wins an Academy Award. So I'm just gonna do a little function. And since I'd already changed this field to be a double, it's gonna work. If it was still a string, that wouldn't work.
Oh,
and I'm just gonna name this field year -1. And then I'm gonna once again join this data together where I've got the new song and the new name. And then I'm gonna look at year -1 and award year. Run the data, see how it goes. Oh, what I didn't do is change the type of year -1. We talked about having to have that data matched up. So we know we got to go back and change that to be the same type of field because otherwise it's not going to work. All right, so we take a look at that after we run it. And it looks like we've definitely picked up a lot more that weren't matching in that first round. We've got a lot more data joined there, additional songs. But when I look at my data that didn't join on the right, I still got things that look like they should join up. That Against All Odds songs by Phil Collins that was second on that list, I feel like I used to hear that on the radio all the time, so you know it was on the charts.
Oh, yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna filter out, now that song I know had some parentheses and some weird stuff, so we're just gonna look at the first 12 characters of the Academy Award winning song and match it up to the first 12 characters of the song that's in the Billboard Top 100 charts. And maybe that's gonna get rid of a lot of the mess that could still be out there on the end.
That's a great idea.
Then we're gonna join that data up again, right? With that filtered down to 12 character song and to the year. And we're gonna see if we pick up some more fields there. All right, let's run and see what happens. Okay, so now if I look at the stuff that joined in the middle, I picked up that Phil Collins song, and I probably picked up some other songs there too. It looks like there's still some Oscar songs that are unjoined, but those must have never hit the charts. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna join all my data together with the union, pick the stuff from the middle joins for each of the fields, but then I'm gonna pick the left and the right join from my output of the data, so I get the stuff that didn't join it together, and that should make a nice complete data set. I'm once again gonna output the data to a file, and rename it Top Song Movie, because I'm starting to mesh all my stuff together. I'm gonna write it to an Excel file, and I'm gonna overwrite the sheet. Always a safe idea to do. So I run it, I output it, it's all gonna union together. It takes a little longer when you've got more data. I've got all these different things that are now unioning together instead of little things. So it takes a little while to run. And then once again, I'm gonna put a container around it because that keeps my data nice and clean. And then if anybody else is using my Alteryx flow, they're able to quickly go in and understand, you know, what parts go together. I'm gonna rename that. And then let's go back and look at the viz. So if I look at this movie songs viz, right? It looks like being a #1 song has nothing to do with being an Oscar winner. It's actually the opposite.
So how can I tell that from your vid?
Well, what you've got here is you've got the years, you've got all the nominees for Best Song, and then the ones marked with the star are the ones that actually won. See, if you look at 2016, right, Can't Stop the Feeling for Trolls, it hit #1, 52 weeks in the charts, a solid year, but it didn't win the Oscar.
Well, the Oscars must be wrong.
I mean, I can't disagree with you. So Lady Gaga might have to settle with the top song, not an Oscar.
It does make me wonder, though, on top songs versus top albums. I wonder how the album For a Star Is Born is selling.
Well, you know what you can do.
I can follow in your footsteps. I can try to find a data set online, or I could just web scrape the last few weeks off the Billboard site. It might have a bit different format, but I bet we can work with it. So let's bring this other people's data into Alteryx and kind of clean it up again. So we'll continue with our flow that we've already got started. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab a select tool just so I can get some kind of clarification where we had left off, what things were named, and understand the different types of strings that we've got. I'm going to grab an input tool to grab that data I've already web scraped. I cleaned it up a little bit and put it in a sheet I called clean. Over in the configuration tab, I can take a peek at it to remind me what it looks like. I noticed two things. One, my names look very different than yours. Plus my date format is using that full month, which I'm sure yours is not. So within the select tool, I can rename my stuff to match yours so we know we're talking about the same things. I'm a former programmer, so you'll notice there's no spaces in mine. They've got a lot of underscores within that. But to clean it up and for visualization purposes, we can add those spaces back in. You did rename rank, it looked like, to be the number on there. So I can do that with a hashtag here in Alteryx to kind of make sure that we're consistent. So after doing that, I'm now going to grab a formula tool to start fixing that date problem we were having. So I'm going to take my field, overwrite the same field date, and use this date time parse formula that we can use from Alteryx. The field I'm acting on is the original date field. And what I'm going to do is look up what that format should be so Alteryx can translate it. What I learned was that %B translates into that full month spelled out, and the %Y equates to the full year. I also learned something very important. You need to have quotes around that at the end for it to run properly. A few false starts made that work. I'm also adding in another variable here called date type, so we can keep these separate. So this we got from a data set for the Billboard Top 100, so we'll do that. Going back to the first data set, I'm going to do the same thing. This one was the Billboard Top Hot 100, so we can keep it clean. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a select tool just to kind of double check that I match the names correctly and the data types. So we'll do that on both sides, kind of because we can see the new names and the new types. Oops. It kind of looks like you've got the weak position named weak position here, but a hashtag and the other thing. So we'll clean that up and then I'll join these together. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't mean join. I actually mean union these together. So we'll use that union tool to do so. Unioning puts the one right on top of the other. I'll grab another auto field to kind of clean that up just to make sure as this data set's getting larger in Tableau, it runs as efficiently as possible. Grabbing a select tool to make sure I understand kind of how that works. I'm going to output that data again to the file for you. And we'll make another great name of Top Album Song Movie. We'll output that to sheet 1, overwriting the sheet as you did, just to keep it clean in case I have to do a few iterations. This does take a few minutes to run. I can't wait for the new version of Alteryx to come to here to Progressive so that hopefully we can run things in a more iterative manner and not have to wait a few minutes when you've got a few larger data sets. But it looks like it finished now. So let's grab all this tools that we did and throw it in a container again to keep it clean for whoever might want it next. Name that container the Billboard Top Album, and we'll save this flow. So then if you could take this and put it into a visualization and walk me through kind of what you did.
Yeah, so what I did is I looked at the Billboard Top 50 albums here and the Billboard Top 50 songs for the December 1st week. And it's really interesting because you can see that like Mumford & Sons, right? They have the top selling album, but they don't have any songs. Maybe people are giving it as a Christmas gift. And then Michael Bublé, right, has the 2nd and the 20th albums, but no songs in the top charts.
Top of the Christmas charts, this is all recent data.
That's true. And A Star is Born is number 4 over here, but it's beat out by The Greatest Showman soundtrack, which is last year's movie, right?
Oh, the data doesn't lie, Marian. So in conclusion, our data is super interesting when paired with other stuff. But did you learn anything?
I mean, I learned that Kesha had all those collaborations on that first slide.
And I remembered who Kesha is. But more importantly, we learned about the text-to-columns tool in Alteryx, and that can be super helpful while grouping.
Right, and the regex tool helps me clean up my data and join it easily.
And we can write regex by using Google. In addition, we learned the data parse tool can be used to align dates.
I definitely learned a lot more about working with other people's data.
Now that's useful. Marian, are you down with OPD?
Yeah, you know me. Sue, are you down with OPD?
Yeah, you know me. And we hope you're all down with OPD too. Now, any questions?
Oh my God, that was awesome.
Thank you.
I haven't seen any questions come in yet, but let's look. If anybody has any questions, please ask them in the Q&A if possible. That was so great.
If we have additional time, I do have a wrap to share.
No, do it.
All right. I like big data and I cannot lie. You number crunchers can't deny. When you get an app with a decent interface and a server with some massive space, you geek out.
Oh my God, that was awesome. That was so great.
That one does go to another coworker, but when she learned the title of this, she was like, oh my goodness, you have to do this.
Yes. Yes, that was so great. You know, let's see, I'll just do a call out one other time if there's any questions. Yeah.
We wowed them with our data.
Yes. And yes, I do love Katie was like, this is great. And it's going to be on YouTube forever. So there you go. You all had so much fun presenting this. That was so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We will get ready for our next.